This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 11th day of February in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. With opposition members staying away from his inaugural speech to the parliament, President Irfaan Ali this afternoon called on all Guyanese to stand as one to defend the country's sovereignty. The president noted the recent arrest and detention of Guyanese fishermen by Venezuela while they were operating in Guyana's waters. He reminded that a threat from the neighboring country, which continues to claim Guyana's territory, remains.
The threat from our neighbor Venezuela has not receded, simply because the International Court of Justice has ruled that it has jurisdiction in the matter and is proceeding to adjudicate the merits of the case before it on the Guyanese-Venezuelan contention. We all know that recently, Guyanese fishermen were arbitrarily arrested and detained by the Venezuelan military while they were operating in waters of Guyana's exclusive economic zone. This demonstrates that the threat is an ever-present danger, even as we pursue a path of settlement by peaceful means through international law.
The president said if Guyana fails to take necessary steps to ensure that its interests and rightful income are safeguarded, the nation could see the dissipation of its right to make decisions on national interests. The president said the nation is on the cusp of great things and changes as he offered a glimpse into several plans of his government over the next few years.
We are at an unprecedented time in our nation's history. We stand together on the cusp of what could be a new economic era of prosperity, in which all will share now and from which future generations will benefit. But let us not fool ourselves that this new economic era will happen without our collective effort, that it will happen without our national unity, that it will happen despite ourselves. There has never been a greater moment when we as Guyanese need to stand as one to secure the benefits of our natural resources and to protect our sovereignty.
The president also announced that the government has decided to form a One Guyana Commission, which will seek to foster more love and respect for the country by citizens, while addressing many of the issues and problems that ignite hate. That commission is to be headed by the Prime Minister.
I propose to give meaning to my call for One Guyana by requesting the leader of government business in the National Assembly, Prime Minister Brigadier the Honorable Mark Phillips, to introduce the adoption of an Act of Parliament establishing a One Guyana Commission which he will head. As the great philosopher C.L.R. James put it, and I quote, "A nation is built not on abstraction, but on tackling and solving the problems which occupy its people." The purpose of the Commission should be to try to do just that in relation to the practical steps we can take to cement our one society, encompassing and respecting the diversity from which our oneness springs.
The government is expected to soon table legislation to pave the way for the birth of the One Guyana Commission, and the Commission's work will be expected to cover the entire country. President Ali also said his government will be transparent as it forges ahead with its many plans and programs of development. He noted too that his number one priority at this time is tackling the coronavirus pandemic, and his hope is to get all Guyanese vaccinated by the end of this year. The president's speech to Parliament was his first since taking the oath of office last August. It came on the eve of his government's presentation of its national budget for this year. More news coming up in a moment.
The Ministry Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports is pleased to present Guyana Talent Search. If you can sing, dance, draw, or paint, play a musical instrument, perform magic acts, do comedy, drama, or any other talent, then send a 1-minute video with your talent to our WhatsApp number 653-1742. Video entries must be sent before February 20th and must include your name, age, and where you're from. Shortlisted participants will be invited to a live audition, and finalists will receive a cash prize and perform in a live virtual event broadcast all across Guyana. This is your time to shine. Check the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports Facebook page for more details. We are one Guyana.
You taste the cheese, you hear the crunch. Grab a zoomers and zoom into fun. And with the first taste, you feel like you don't want it done. Blast off to a whole new place with every single bite. The cheesy goodness bring your taste buds alive. So let's just zoom into fun with this wheel-shaped delight. Zoomers, zoomers, zoom into fun.
Dare to slay. Are you prepared to represent all Guyanese women on the Miss World stage? Entrepreneurs, social media influencers, beauties with degrees, athletes, humanitarians, and performing artists, top models with charisma, and oh yes, if you so please, friends or frenemies who are as real as can be. Dare to slay, then apply without fear, making 2021 your boldest, bravest year. Win a car, $500,000 in cash, and loads of other prizes fitting for a queen. It's Miss World time. Are you ready to slay? Victoria Regia Season 1 begins. Apply today. www.missworldguyana.com.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL?
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guyoil Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guyoil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
Welcome back. The opposition did not wait around in the National Assembly today for the president's speech. Instead, they were joined by a small group of supporters on the outside to picket the president. As the president made his way into the Ortachung Convention Center, some of the opposition members who were leaving shouted at him that fraud is fraud.
Fraud is fraud! 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 Fraud is fraud!
Opposition leader Joe Harmon said the president and his statements cannot be taken seriously.
Well, we're here today to basically protest the statements that will be made by President Ali in the Parliament. In fact, you recall that we spent 133 days during last year recounting ballots that were cast at the 2nd of March elections, and that this place is the place where the fraud which was discovered that benefited the PPP, that is the basis upon which this PPP regime now exercises governance.
The opposition leader also said the government continues to refuse to consult with the opposition on major national issues.
We have the situation in which that regime has failed to recognize and failed to consult with the legitimate representatives of over 217,000 persons whom we represent in that house. And so that disrespect which he has shown to us, you cannot come into my house and disrespect me.
Some opposition members were prevented from leaving the compound while others were locked on the outside by the police, who claimed that they were following instructions. Since taking office, the president has refused to consult with the opposition leader, claiming that he will only do so when the opposition officially recognizes him as president. In an ambitious move, the government is hoping to immunize 80% of the population against COVID-19. A pharmacist at a Georgetown hospital became the first person in Guyana to be vaccinated against COVID-19 today. She received her first shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine this morning at the Georgetown hospital. Guyana received 1,500 doses of the vaccine from Barbados yesterday. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony explained to reporters that as part of the rollout, the Ministry of Health will embark on a major information campaign to better educate persons about the vaccine and coronavirus itself.
We would really need a lot of public education to ensure that people understand how vaccines work, how they can protect you, and also to dispel some of the negativity that surrounds vaccine, because there are persons who are totally against vaccines, and that's not going to be helpful in this fight against the pandemic.
The Health Ministry's plan is to get all health workers vaccinated within the next few weeks. There are more than 22,000 health workers to be vaccinated. Guyana is to receive more than 100,000 doses of the vaccines through the COVAX initiative, with additional vaccines from India and through a CARICOM African Union partnership.
We are starting today, but by the end of the month and going into March, our hope is that every single health worker would be able to get vaccinated. So we will have by then enough doses of vaccines to be able to provide to every single health worker, whether you're in the public sector or in the private sector. So we have worked out a deployment plan, how we're going to roll out vaccines, and the first set of people is the healthcare workers. After that, we'll go to persons who are older.
The majority of persons who have died from COVID-19 in Guyana are elderly persons. The country has recorded more than 8,000 cases of coronavirus since the first case was recorded almost a year ago. The number of coronavirus-related deaths in the country jumped to 184 today, following the passing of 2 elderly persons. The Ministry of Health this afternoon announced the deaths of an 83-year-old man from Region 4 and a 90-year-old man from Region 5. Both passed away while receiving care in a medical institution. The 2 deaths were recorded as the country saw 43 new cases of coronavirus being reported, taking the number of active cases in the country to 805. There are 7 persons in the COVID-19 intensive care unit. The Ministry of Health continues to worry about persons not heeding the warnings about the disease. The Health Minister today called again on Guyanese to follow the COVID-19 regulations. Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier Godfrey Best, has revealed that the military is currently looking at several proposals to ensure that suitable vessels are sourced to adequately dominate Guyana's exclusive economic zone. Brigadier Best made a statement this morning as he addressed the opening of the GDF Officers Conference. His statement on the need for increased patrols of Guyana's waters and the exclusive economic zone comes on the heels of Venezuela conducting patrols within Guyana's EEZ. Recently, Venezuela detained a number of Guyanese fishermen while they were in Guyana's waters. They have since been released. The GDF Chief of Staff said it is clear that there is a need for increased monitoring by Guyana.
These activities individually or combined present threats to our communities and people. We must be able to better monitor the nation's air, land and sea spaces and interdict interlopers. It is therefore reassuring that we have with us today our Commander-in-Chief and members of the Guyana Defense Board, who has commenced discussion and has created a path to ensure that the defense and security sector will be resourced in order to be resolutely capable of defending our nation against all threats to security and safety.
Brigadier Best also said some steps are already being taken to improve Guyana's ability to increase patrols of its land, sea, and water spaces.
A new 412 GBTI helicopter was acquired, and the process for the rehabilitation of the Beechcraft King Air 350 has commenced, while the Cessna 441 will be rehabilitated before the end of 2021. Additionally, the Cessna 172 recently seized aircraft was declared as a state asset and handed over to the Guyana Defense Force. Adequate officers and ranks are being presently undergoing training as pilots and engineers for the 412 and Beechcraft. Several proposals are also being studied to ensure that suitable vessels are sourced to complement the sea assets to adequately dominate our EEZ, notwithstanding There was an increase in vessel interdiction utilizing current assets during 2020.
And President Irfan Ali, in his address to the conference, said Guyana will be forging close cooperation with sister militaries and friendly states in enhancing the capacity of its armed forces.
Diplomacy will be our first line of defense. While we are capable of resisting aggression, our first resort will always be to seek a peaceful resolution to any dispute.
The GDF Officers Conference, which was opened at the National Cultural Center, will continue into the weekend. And now let's tell you that through a partnership with the U.S. Embassy, the local judiciary will be embarking on a plan to develop an automated case management system. The move is expected to assist in clearing the backlog of cases and making the local court system more accessible and respondent. In a statement, the U.S. Embassy said the new case management system will also help to ensure criminal cases are handled expeditiously, while increasing public trust and confidence in the justice system. The court case management system will utilize a shared open source and cost-effective technology to increase the effectiveness and efficiency of judges and court staff by automating document production, improving processes, and facilitating data sharing. The project is also receiving support from the U.S. Department of State's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs. It will be implemented by the National Center for State Courts. The U.S. government is investing $400,000 in the project, which is expected to come on stream within 17 months.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breast, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then, since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Due to the impacts of the global pandemic, COVID-19, across our nation, essential organizations like us have chosen to adopt innovative approaches to meet the emerging needs of our customers while protecting our employees. Here are some quick tips to make managing your GPL bill easier while we practice social distancing. To register for electronic billing, you can use the e-billing tab on your website. To access your bill balance, you can use 4 options: the website live chat at gpl.net, the online inquiry on our website under billing, SMS freedom by texting your GPL reference number to 624-0400 or 608-8400, or call our call center at 226-2600. A message from the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then, since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Across the region, Haitian police have clashed with rock-hurling protesters in the capital of Port-au-Prince amid street demonstrations against the President Jovenel Moïse, after his government retired 3 Supreme Court judges earmarked as his potential replacements. The police fired tear gas and shot in the air in an attempt to disperse pockets of protesters, who pelted the security officials with rocks, according to the Reuters news agency. The latest political controversy in Haiti comes amid a crippling economic crisis and a sharp rise in crime, especially kidnappings for ransom. The opposition is demanding that Moïse leaves power immediately, accusing him of acting like an authoritarian leader and violating the constitution. Tensions intensified over the weekend after Moïse alleged that there was an attempt to overthrow his government. Authorities on Sunday arrested 23 people, including a Supreme Court judge and a senior police official. An opposition spokesman in Barbados has slammed the monthly administration for not following its own COVID-19 management protocol at the beginning of the spike in infections late last year. In a statement, a spokesman, Paul Gibson, assured Barbadians that the lockdown was necessary because of the high numbers of positive cases for the virus being seen daily in Barbados. But he was also critical of the government's response to the crisis, saying that it was slow to move even for the protocols it had put in place. The opposition official said the government of Barbados delayed addressing the brewing situation back in December, leading to a strain currently being experienced on the healthcare system across the island, with delays in test results being misplaced, and delays in COVID-positive patients being moved to isolation facilities. Barbados Today reports that the official also said the situation has caused the anxiety of many Barbadians to rise. And finally tonight, international news. U.S. President Joe Biden has rescinded the national emergency order used to fund Donald Trump's border wall. In a letter to Congress today, Mr. Biden wrote that the order was unwarranted and said that no further tax dollars will be spent on the wall. Mr. Trump declared a state of emergency over the southern border in 2019, which allowed him to bypass Congress and use military funds for its construction. When Mr. Trump left office, about $25 billion had been spent on the project. The announcement from President Biden today is the latest in a series of executive orders that have rolled back key parts of the former president's agenda. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting. Have a safe night.